Thanks for completing the hobbies activity. We're now going to move into looking at performance readiness, which is step 2. Performance readiness is dynamic. It moves. It's not fixed. It's not set. The hobbies activity, I think, showed that the readiness moved depending on the activity and would continue to move dependent upon the individual's willingness and ability towards that activity. Therefore, performance readiness comprises of those 2 key elements: somebody's ability and somebody's willingness. And we're going to go into those in depth, and we're going to look at each of them, the elements that make them up. They're always interacting, ability and willingness, and I'll give you an example. My daughters, I've got 2 daughters, they're able but not willing to feed the dogs. And the main reason for that is they don't like the smell of the dog food. However, take a friend of mine, and that friend is very keen on golf. He's very willing to play golf. He'll play in any weather. However, his ability is low, even though he's had quite a few lessons. And therefore, if you ask me to partner him in a game, I would do, but I may not jump at the opportunity. Okay, so we're going to look at ability and willingness in some depth. To start off with, I want to focus upon ability. Ability is made up of 3 elements. Those elements being the knowledge, which is the know-how, the experience, so has done, and also going to look at the skill, which is answering the question, are they presently doing? Which is a key question we'll come back to in a moment. If I was to give you an example, putting up shelves. If you were to be my leader and the task was putting up shelves, and you asked me the question that goes, do you know how to put up a shelf? My response would be, yes, I do know how to put up a shelf. I've read a few books on it. I know how to do it. If you said, have you got experience of putting up shelves? My response to that would be, yes, I've got experience. 10 years ago, I put up a shelf. And I think it's still up, but I did 10 years ago. If you asked me about skill, and the question goes, are you presently putting up shelves? My response would be no, because I haven't put one up in 10 years. And there's a key point here, because if you were to ask me the question, can you put up a shelf? My automatic response would be, yes, I can. I can put up a shelf, not a problem at all. But as you can see, when you break it down into those 3 elements, the key is, am I currently? And this question, I think, is key to diagnosis of performance readiness with regard to ability. And that question goes, are they currently and consistently performing the task at a sustained, acceptable level? And that's sustained, so it's not just by chance, it's not by luck, they haven't just done it once, it's sustained. An acceptable level, is it to the required level in terms of standard or in terms of quality? Okay. And that for me is one of the key elements. Let's look at willingness next. So willingness again is made up of 3 elements, and those 3 elements are confidence, commitment and motivation. So confidence is when the person believes that they can, when they have that inner confidence, they believe they can actually carry out the task. Commitment is the will do, and the will do because the outcome's important to them, or because the quality is important to them. Motivation is the want to, so whether they want to or they have the actual desire to actually carry out that task. Interesting thing with willingness is that the outcome can come from the strongest felt need. And what I mean by that is we can sometimes misdiagnose and see someone lacking confidence as not being motivated because of the behaviours that they're showing. If I was to give you another example, the example is a presentation. So the task is a presentation, somebody's been asked to carry out that task. That person may well be confident. They've carried out many presentations in the past and they've got glowing feedback. They may well be committed, and they're committed to the cause, they're committed to their team, and therefore they'll take one for the team. but they may not be particularly motivated because that presentation is of a change which they know isn't going to be taken very well by the audience. So that's just an example of those three elements where if they're in line, all happy, all good. But when one is out of kilter, it can have a real impact upon willingness. And we will look at that a little bit more later as well when we go into some video case studies. One word of warning is that when first introduced to performance readiness, I've noticed that people often lump tasks together. So rather than it being task specific, they'll lump maybe 3 or 4 tasks together, or they focus upon the whole person. And in focusing upon the whole person, that can be a real danger. And we'll go into that breakdown in a moment into all the 4 performance readiness levels. I'll give you an example. Remember the forest tree leaf example, the analogy. It's about taking it right down to the task level. That's what's key. And it's that task level where we identify performance readiness. Performance readiness is not good or bad, it's just as is. At that moment in time, remember it's dynamic. So at that point in time, the person is at this performance readiness level. Tomorrow we'll also go on to look at regression, because people can regress. They can be at a performance level R4 and can actually regress to an R2, maybe an R1. Okay, I'm going to give you an example of where an individual has got different performance readiness levels for different tasks that they have to complete. And this example is a real example. The guy is a technician, an electrical technician, who works for a manufacturing and engineering company who I work with. The guy's called Paul, and I've sat down with him, and I've identified 4 performance readiness levels for 4 tasks. So for the first task, which is R1, the task that he completes is completing daily timesheets on his iPad. Now he's R1 because at the moment he's unable. It's a fairly new task, and he's insecure. No training's been given as yet, and he lacks confidence working with technology, and therefore he would be seen as an R1 for that task. The task for R2 is installing new hardware on machinery to increase the speed of production. Now here, he's again unable because this is new hardware, but he is confident and he is willing. He's an excellent electrician, he's an excellent engineer, and therefore he is confident that he will develop those skills, and he's more than willing to do that. R3 is cross-selling other services to the companies that he works with. The reason he finds cross-selling, or should I say, the reason I've identified cross-selling as R3, is that he's absolutely able, he's got great knowledge of the product as well, and he's got a lot of skill, and he's got a lot of experience. But he's unwilling because he actually doesn't see it as being part of his role, and disagrees that he should be selling. He's R4 with the activity, and one of his key activities, one of his key tasks, which is delivering user training. And that is delivering that training on a one-to-one basis or in very small groups. So there's an example of where one individual can have different readiness levels for a number of tasks that he performs. I'd like to refer you to the pull-outs again, and also ask you to turn to page 12. And as we're going through this next piece, I'd ask you to complete the empty boxes on page 12 as we discuss. The diagram on the pull-out, I believe, is a great way to actually decide and diagnose on current performance readiness. And I use this personally an awful lot myself. The example I'm going to give to make it come to life is a very real task for me personally. I'm due to run a marathon in 8 weeks' time, so that's the task. So let's work this through, and the first question goes, currently am I performing a sustained level for a marathon? And the answer to that is no. I've never run a marathon before. If you were to ask me with a sustained level for a 10k or a half marathon, my response would be yes, because I've run many 10ks and quite a few half marathons. But regarding the marathon, the answer would be no. If you were to then go on to willingness, ask, am I confident? The answer would be yes, the training's going well. So yes, I'm confident. Am I motivated? Absolutely, yeah. I've got the desire to run that marathon. I've wanted to run a marathon for a few years now, just not had the time to do the training. Am I committed? Yes, absolutely. I've set up with a charity, and I hope to raise over £500 for that charity. And therefore, where I would sit is I'm actually at R2. That's where I sit, at R2. If the task was to run a 10k, that would be a different story. If I was going to run a 10k, in actual fact, I would be at an R4. Any questions regarding performance readiness at this point in time? Okay, so we're going to go into an activity to investigate the behaviours at each of the readiness levels so that we can be better equipped to identify that readiness level for an individual for a task. Thank you.